So last class we were discussing the static portion. Studying about the basics of cell organelles and then 5-kingdom classification. And then we were discussing about micronutrients was the last topic. Good. So today we have to start with circulatory system. Oh no, first we'll start with digestive system. Yeah. I hope you got this mind map link in your Telegram channel. Did you get it? Yes. So this is still under construction. I'm yet to complete it. It may take another 2 or 3 weeks. Once it's done, you'll get a complete mind map. Good. So keep on following this. So starting with the digestive system, it starts at the buccal cavity. That is the mouth region. It's called as buccal cavity. Good. So once we start eating food, the digestion starts at mouth. I repeat, the digestion starts at mouth because the mouth secretes two important things. We have a salivary gland. We have 3 sets of salivary glands, that is parotids, submaxillary and submandibular gland. 3 salivary glands, and there was a current affairs about salivary gland in the recent times. Noise disturbance is there. Anisha, is it clear now? Do you still have the noise? Yes, in the sense, is it clear, or do you still have the noise? Enzyme is antibacterial enzyme, wherein salivary amylase is other enzyme that breaks down the food. Good. It starts at buccal cavity, and once we swallow the food, we call it as epiglutition. So once you swallow the food, it travels through the esophagus through a series of contractions. So that's why they say even if you stand upside down and then swallow the food, it will still reach the mouth. It will still reach the stomach. That's why the esophagus, and then it goes to stomach. So stomach has 3 important regions. That is the entry region is called as fundus, and then cardiac, and then pyloric. So if you get any bacteria related to pyroli, for example, Campylobacter pyroli, it means it is something that infects the stomach. The reason for putting these points here is Campylobacter pyroli. It's a virus. It's a bacteria that causes ulcer in the stomach. So pyroli is a part in stomach, and after pyloric part, the food is well churned, it forms a chyme, and then it's pushed into small intestine. So small intestine, see here, it's common for people to confuse small intestine with kidney. So small intestine is here. It's not to be confused with kidney. Small intestine starts immediately after the stomach. So small intestine is a series of coiled tube. That's your small intestine, where the most part of the digestion takes place at small intestine. Also, there is a misconception that large part of digestion takes place at large intestine, because it says the large, but understand, most of the digestion process it's completed in the small intestine, where in the large intestine only the water is reabsorbed and the waste products are excreted. That's the main function of large intestine, wherein small intestine does majority of the work. In small intestine, you have different coils. You have duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So these are the parts of the small intestine. You have duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. And the large intestine, it is divided into 3 major parts, that is cecum, colon, and rectum. And then it drains into anus. That's the end of the overall skeletal structure of the digestive system. Good. So starting with the next one, digestive glands. Yes. I told you salivary glands. There are 3 types of salivary glands: parotid, submaxillary, and sublingual. And recently they have discovered one more tubular gland. The current affairs about salivary gland. We have 3 salivary glands, and one more organ-like structure that secretes saliva has been recently discovered by MRI scans. It is submitted for approval, but it's not yet approved. Good. So don't confuse. Right now there are only 3 approved salivary glands. And then how about bile? Have you heard of bile? Bile is the greenish fluid. Yes, that is predominantly helpful in emulsifying fat. Bile is most importantly helpful in emulsifying fat. Also, there is one more familiar misconception that bile is secreted in gallbladder, because gallbladder is known for bile juice. Even when they cut meat and everything, they carefully take out the gallbladder initially, because once if the bile juice spills out, the entire meat is spoiled. So it's a general misconception that bile is secreted in gallbladder. But understand, bile is secreted in liver and it is stored in gallbladder. So liver secretes bile and it stores in gallbladder. Gallbladder does not secrete anything. Bladder is just a storage. Gallbladder is just a storage. And then pancreas, it has two portions, endocrine and exocrine portion. The endocrine portion, it secretes insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon, two important things. In this, insulin is hypoglycemic hormone. You can write down insulin is hypoglycemic, which means it reduces sugar level. It is hypoglycemic. Wherein glucagon is hyperglycemic, which means it increases sugar level. Long story short, whenever the body wants to store energy, the glucose will be converted into glycogen and it will be stored in the liver. Whenever the body wants to derive energy, glycogen will be converted into glucose. So insulin, it stores energy. Glucagon, it derives energy. Because insulin, I told you, it's hypoglycemic. It reduces sugar level. Basically, glucose is converted into glycogen and stored in liver. Wherein when we want to derive energy, glycogen is converted back into glucose by glucagon and then energy is derived. That is about pancreas. Good. These are important set of digestive enzymes. And then coming to the next one. We have to start with circulatory system. What are the important components of circulatory system? The blood. What are the important components? Are the familiar ones. There is RBC, WBC, platelets. And then, can someone answer? We have much limited attendance today. Much lesser than usual. Either allergic to science or allergic to evening classes or allergic to biotechnology. Anyway. Plasma, good. So we have RBC, WBC, platelets, and plasma. So which of the following is associated with blood clotting? Simple question. Anyone? Which of the following is associated with blood clotting? We have RBC, red blood cells, WBC, white blood cells, and then platelets, and then glucagon. While most of you are saying platelets, yes, platelets is one of the main reasons for blood clotting, while we'll forget plasma because, see, plasma forms around 55% of the blood. Good. 55% of the blood is plasma. You could see here formed elements are erythrocytes is basically RBC. Erythro means red. It appears red in color because so it's called as erythrocytes. And then leukocytes are white blood cells and thrombocytes are platelets. And plasma, it is 55%, the white or the straw colored liquid. So plasma is famous in the recent times because of convalescent plasma therapy. Because plasma has antibodies, it will help us to fight the infection. And also it helps in blood coagulation. Understand? Plasma has three important proteins. For people who find the class a bit faster, understand we are not going to discuss the entire NCERT. I'm going to give you only the skeletal structure so that when you reread the NCERT, it's going to be easier. You don't expect that I can tell the entire 11th and 12th biology NCERT that spans up to 600 pages in a single class, which is impossible task. This is to give you a skeletal structure. You can use the mind maps and then study the NCERT. That's the idea. Good. So plasma has albumin, fibrinogen, and globulins. There are three proteins in this. Albumin is associated with the maintenance of osmotic balance, wherein fibrinogen, fiber. So fibrinogen is related to blood coagulation and globulin is related to fighting infections. Good. So yes, platelets is correct answer, but don't think plasma has no role in blood coagulation. Plasma, in fact, has a greater role in coagulation of blood. Good. And erythrocytes, they are red blood cells, also called as RBC. It has iron inside that carries oxygen. And leukocytes, they are called as police force of the body. White blood cells, they're called as police force of the body because they help us to fight infections. Hold on. Give me a minute. Yeah. This is called as police force, and there are two classifications. That is granulocytes, A granulocytes. The one that has granules and the one that does not have granules. neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, lymphocytes, monocytes. These are the 5 types of white blood cells, and in this, lymphocytes are much important because when we read about the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, we'll be learning about lymphocytes. When a person is affected by AIDS, the lymphocytes are destroyed. I repeat, when a person is affected by AIDS, the lymphocytes are destroyed. So these are the police force of the body, and thrombocytes is related to blood coagulation. Good. And then talking about the next one, endocrine system. Endocrine system is a huge topic. What is meant by endocrine? Anything that happens, any gland that secretes without a tube. If the secretions are directly mixed inside the bloodstream, you call it as endocrine gland. I repeat, if the secretions are directly mixed inside into the blood, you call it as endocrine gland. The endocrine gland is a much wider topic. You could see here, we have these many endocrine glands. These are the endocrine glands starting from hypothalamus. We have pituitary, pineal body, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pancreas, adrenal, testes. So I'll tell everything in short before we go into the mind map. First thing, hypothalamus, that is brain. We know that brain is the control center, which means hypothalamus has releases two types of materials. One set of material that promotes hormone secretion, the other set of material that inhibits hormone secretion. Both the promoting and inhibiting hormones are secreted by hypothalamus. Talking about pineal body is extremely important because it secretes melatonin. Melatonin is related to circadian rhythm. The sleep cycle is regulated by melatonin secreted from pineal body. So this pineal body generally takes இது ஆஃப் ஆகுறதா காட்டுது பாருங்க. இங்க 5 minutesல ஆஃப் ஆகும்னு போட்டு ஆஃப் பண்ணிடலாமா? ஆஃப் ஆனா ஆன் பண்ணிக்கலாமா? Sure, right, okay, yeah. Pineal body is related to secretion of melatonin, and it's important because it regulates the sleep cycle, and that's one reason we are advised not to use phone without blue light filters before the bedtime. Because if we keep on using the phone before the bedtime, the pineal body will not secrete melatonin, which means the body will take it in such a way that it is not at night time and you're still active, and it won't give signal to the brain for sleeping. That's one reason. Melatonin is highly related to sleep cycle. The reason for blue light filters, the reason we are advised to keep our phones aside at least 1 hour before the bedtime, the main reason why we call it as doomsday scrolling. After going to the bed, even if it's a bad news, we'll keep on scrolling. When you keep on scrolling without the blue light filters, the pineal body will not send melatonin. And because of that, you won't get proper sleep. You can link it with the poultry farming also. If you see the poultry farms, even in the night time, the light will be on. That's because if it's night time, the chickens won't feed and they'll stay calm. But if there is brightness, they'll keep on feeding. So how the poultry industry runs, let's keep aside the ethical concerns, but it's actually a lot of abuse that's put on the chickens. Basically, we need chickens of larger size in shorter amount of time. So for that reason, they keep the lights on so that it feels the warmth as well as it doesn't see the darkness. And because of that, it will keep on feeding almost the entire time. So the size of the chicken increases greatly. So all these are related to sleep cycles. Then coming to pituitary is called as the master gland because pituitary regulates most of the activities. Yeah, I'll tell you the NCERT book list. Pituitary regulates most of the activities. For that reason, it's called as a master gland. When I show the set of secretions by pituitary, you'll understand. See here. This is the entire set of secretions by pituitary alone. Pituitary alone takes care of these many secretions. Good. And coming to the next one, talking about thyroid and parathyroid hormone, they're called as personality hormone because muscle development, all things are related to thyroid glands. And that's one reason people with the hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, they're not advised to get pregnant because the fetus will not have proper development. The thyroid is called as personality hormone. Talking about thymus. Thymus has a peculiar characteristic. Thymus degenerates. So thymus is larger in babies, wherein as we grow older, thymus reduces. The size of the thymus degenerates. Sometimes even thymus becomes almost undetectable. Good. So it secretes a thing called as thymosin. Thymosin is related to lymphocytes and immunity. Thymosin, it's related to lymphocytes and immunity, which means this is one main reason that the older adults or the older people have lesser immunity to diseases because the thymus degenerates, lesser lymphocytes will be differentiated. Good. And then pancreas, important. Pancreas secretes glucose and insulin and glucagon. For that reason, pancreas is important. And adrenal. Adrenal glands are called hormones of flight, fight, and flight. Whenever we are stressed, we call it as adrenal rush. When you're rushing towards a location, or you get frightened, there is a lot of adrenaline that is being secreted into the body. So for that reason, adrenal glands are called as hormones of or glands of flight, fight, and fright. Good. So coming to testis and ovary related to reproduction, testis secretes sperm in case of male, and ovary it helps in production of eggs in female. Where eggs is placed in the uterus and the egg is not fertilized, menstruation happens. So all these are regulated by ovary. You can see the set of secretions by each of them. First one I told you, hypothalamus. It gives releasing hormone and inhibiting hormone. Good. So also when you use this mind map, please click on the individual cells to check if there is something inside, because this is just the heading. Once you click on it, you will have some notes inside. So don't miss this. Are you people listening? For example, releasing hormone, hypothalamic hormone is example of releasing hormone. When I click on inhibiting hormones, somatostatin, it's an example of inhibiting hormone. So for most of the hormones, I put notes inside. When you click it again, it will shrink. I've given read-only access. Mostly you won't be able to edit. Even if you're able to edit, please don't edit it, because I've given access to almost all the people. Yes. I believe that I've given only the reading permission. Yes. Now talking about thyroid, if you ever come across something called as T3, T4, T3 and T4, remember it is related to thyroid. Triiodothyronine, tetraiodothyronine, all these are related to thyroid glands. These are secreted by thyroid. Okay, hold on. Thermal shutdown, ரொம்ப நேரம் ஓடிட்டு இருந்தா ஆஃப் ஆகுமா? Yeah. Tetraiodothyronine, triiodothyronine, thyrocalcitonin, parathyroid hormone, all these are related to thyroid. Good. And as I told you about pituitary, you could see growth hormone. The name itself says it promotes growth. And what if growth hormone is more, and what if growth hormone is lesser? When growth hormone is secreted more, it causes gigantism. When growth hormone is secreted in a deficient amount, it causes dwarfism or other growth-related diseases. Good. That's related to growth hormone. Prolactin. The name itself says lactin, related to milk. The development of mammary glands, the secretion of milk, all these are coordinated from pituitary gland using prolactin. Thyroid stimulating hormone, which means thyroid is secreted by thyroid gland, but it is regulated by pituitary. That's why we call it as master gland or the master controller. Thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, it stimulates the synthesis of thyroid. Then adrenocorticotropic hormone. Cortico is anything related to kidney. If you come across anything called as fundus or pyroli, it's related to stomach. If you come across something called as hepato, it is related to liver. If you come across anything adreno or cortico, all these are related to kidneys. So this regulates the functioning of adrenal glands in the kidney. Luteinizing hormone. So luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, both these are related to secretion of sex hormones. In case of male, it promotes secretion of androgen, and in case of female, it promotes the secretion of estrogen and progesterone. Good. Melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanin. What does it mean by melanin? Anything that gives color. Melanin pigment is related to skin, which means melanocyte stimulating hormone, it determines what is the skin complexion that we are getting. Are we going to be more brown? Are we going to be more black? Are we going to be more white? So depending on that, the skin complexion is decided by melanocyte stimulating hormone. Good. Oxytocin and vasopressin. Vasopressin is important because it helps in reabsorption of water. So if someone is short of vasopressin, it causes diabetes insipidus. I repeat, it causes diabetes insipidus. Don't confuse it with diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is related to destruction of alpha and beta cells in pancreas, which means if they are short of insulin, it causes diabetes mellitus. Wherein if they are short of vasopressin, it causes diabetes insipidus. Good. Oxytocin is related to secretion of milk. Oxytocin smoothens the muscles. Two functions. One is the contraction of uterus during the childbirth, and also the ejection of milk after the childbirth. Both things are taken care by oxytocin. Oxytocin, you can directly link it to the cattle abuse. So generally, when they want to milk the cow, they generally inject oxytocin so that more milk is secreted. Even if the cow is not ready to give milk, we can actually inject oxytocin, which is carried out in most of the cases. Oxytocin along with diclofenac. Oxytocin, it promotes milk secretion. Diclofenac, it's a painkiller. That's how cattle are abused in milk production. Good. Did we miss anything else? Pancreas, I told you it has alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cell secretes glucagon, beta cell secretes insulin. We spoke about it. Testis, they secrete testosterone, and ovaries secretes estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone are more like female hormones, testosterone are male hormones. The last thing is cell division. Do we have cell division happening in our body right now? Can someone say, is there cell division happening in the body right now? Take a random guess. Yes, it should be going on. Yes. Cell division happens on a day-to-day basis, but not all the cells undergo cell division. Yes, it undergoes. Cell division happens in 4 or 5 hours, wherein the preparation takes around 19 to 20 hours. That's how it works. If you see the cell division phase, all these G1S, G2 phase, all these are preparation phases, wherein the last phase, M phase, is the actual cell division phase. It occurs for 4 hours. Most important thing, all the cells do not undergo cell division every day. For example, bone cells, it takes around 10 years to replace. Wherein cardiac cells, most of them, they remain stationary. Most of them, they don't undergo division or they don't get replaced. Wherein the most active cell division happens in skin. Every 76 days, we get a new skin color. New skin cells are formed. If the formation of skin is accelerated, then it causes scaling and it causes psoriasis. So cell division, psoriasis, all these are closely related. So cell division happens every day, and not every cell undergoes cell division. That's important. Good. Yes. Cell division can be divided into 2 types, that is mitosis and meiosis. So first, can someone tell me how many chromosomes are there? 46. Okay, 23 and 23. Good. Let's see what people answer here. Okay, 23 or 23 pairs. We have a hand raise. Vinisha, yes, I'm asking you to unmute. Accidental hand raise, no problem, no problem. So 23 or 46? 23 pairs, exactly. So 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. You can say it is 46 chromosomes. That is haploid, or we can say 23 chromosomes. We're going to talk in case of diploid. Good. So both are same. Either you have to say 23 pairs of chromosome, or you have to say there are 46 chromosomes. So right now we are going to divide it into 2, that is 22 pairs of somatic chromosomes. 22 somatic pairs. Somatic means body cells. And 1 pair of sex chromosomes. Why we are talking about chromosomes now? The thing is, somatic cells, that is body cells, it undergoes mitosis. They undergo mitosis. So mitosis happens in body cells, wherein meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, it undergoes, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 undergoes, sex cells undergoes meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Coming to the next one, about mitosis and meiosis, I'm going to give you a really short introduction. If you are from non-biology background, don't go for biotech NCERT. There is a biotech NCERT in class 11. So first of all, you have to read the biology NCERT first, and then if you have time, you can go for biology NCERT, where important genetic concepts are given. For example, RNA transcriptase, all the cloning, everything is given. If you have time or if you have interest, you can go through the biotech 11th NCERT, or you can just go through the 11th and 12th biology NCERT. That should be sufficiently fine. The first one, starting with mitosis, let's say there are 2n chromosomes. That is 2 into 23, which means in case of somatic cells, they undergo cell division and produce 2n and 2n. This is how the cell divides in case of mitosis. I've oversimplified the diagram, but this is how it works. If there are 2n set of chromosomes, 2 daughter nuclei will be created. This is parent and that is daughter. This is in case of mitosis. Wherein if you take meiosis, in case of meiosis, 2n chromosomes, they divide into n and n. These n divide into like this. So 4 set of haploid chromosomes. Haploid is half. Haploid chromosomes are created. This happens in meiosis 1 and 2. Actually, it happens in successions, meiosis 1 and 2. But meiosis 1 and 2 happens in sex cells, remember, wherein mitosis happens in normal cells or the body cells. And now, most important thing is I told you haploid. Haploid is created. So the sex chromosomes, generally, they describe it this way. Male have XY chromosome. Based on the size and shape, it is generally differentiated as XY chromosome, wherein the female, they have XX chromosome. So during sexual reproduction, they provide X chromosome. And if the male is going to provide through the fusion of sperm and gametes X chromosome, then female babies will be formed. Wherein the male is going to provide Y chromosome, then there will be fusion of Y and X, and then a male baby will be formed. This is how it works, which means the determination of sex of the fetus is purely determined by the chromosomes from the male. For age long, many male, they have been accusing their wives for giving birth to the female baby. That's how the society worked. But the thing is, the actual decision of sex of the fetus is from the chromosome that places from the male side. So male play the prime role in determining the fetus gender. Good. I think this much of basic is enough. We'll step into the current affairs part. Is there any doubt till this? Keep following the mind map. I'll be updating a few more things. Basically, I've divided it into 3 types. This will be like a quick fire round because most of it will be helpful in your prelims. So we'll be covering only the prelims perspective, and some pulse polio programs and similar developments will be covering in mains perspective. Good. Basically, I've divided into 3 types. This is in human, this is in animals, and then diseases in plants. All the diseases, important diseases that were discussed in newspapers starting from 2019 to 2021 till now, it will be discussed by this division. And then about recent developments in the field of biology. And then at last, we'll be discussing a bit about COVID. I repeat, I will be discussing only small portion about COVID because right now the vaccines and everything, the trial is going on. So I'll be providing you updated document where I'll be giving only the basic introduction to COVID and basic introduction to the types of vaccines. Good. And more about Covaxin, COVID Shield, or other important contesters. You have Pfizer's vaccines, all these. It will be updated by the end of, this is March, April, almost April. Mostly by the end of May, I'll be sending updated document exclusively for COVID. You can go through it. All the bradykinin storm, cytokinin storm, all these concepts, I'll be giving it in terms of materials. Good. Are we clear? Are we good to go? First one, we'll start with acute flaccid myelitis. So why this was in news? For many years, they've been counting acute flaccid myelitis as a polio. But apparently, many people who had polio-like conditions, they were tested negative for polio virus, which means this is caused by a virus. Right now, which virus causes this acute flaccid myelitis is unknown. The symptoms and the impacts are same. It causes, it's a neurological illness. First one, it's a neurological illness. Okay, before we start, I'll tell you, I'll be discussing what is the disease, why this was in news, where it happened, who in the sense the causative organism, what, where, who, why, and then most importantly, how this happens, and then the prelims perspective, the places where we may make the error, especially when we are eliminating the options. So that's how the entire session will move on. First one. So acute flaccid myelitis, it is a polio-like condition. I repeat, it's a polio-like condition. It's not exactly polio. It's not a type of polio also. Second thing, cause is unknown. The type of virus that causes it is unknown, wherein it's a neurological illness. And it affects the gray matter in brain. Gray matter is a fluid-like mass in the brain, and it is affected because of acute flaccid myelitis. It leads to weakness and paralysis of limbs. Repeat, it leads to paralysis of limbs. And next, we are going to discuss about, I repeat, there is no vaccine for this, there is no cure for this. This is a unknown type of disease, and highest occurrences in USA, and India also has cases of acute flaccid myelitis. Have we eliminated polio in India? Yes, India has declared polio free, but even then there are polio-like conditions that is existing in India, that is acute flaccid myelitis. For this reason, this was in news. Bubonic plague. So bubonic plague was widely discussed in news, especially when the COVID happened. It was compared with the bubonic plague, or also called as the Black Death. Bubonic plague, it's not severe right now, but back then, before a few centuries in Europe, it was extremely high. It caused a huge scale death. Many people died. So it's caused by a bacteria. I repeat, it's a bacterial disease. It's not a viral disease. Yersinia pestis. This is the bacteria that caused bubonic plague. And again, it's a zoonotic bacterium. What does it mean by zoonotic? Spreads from animals. So zoonotic bacterium. Mainly spreading from small mammals. What is the smallest mammal that we know? Rats and bats. Both are the smallest mammals. And this generally spreads from rats. It's widely divided into three types. That is, plague is divided into bubonic plague. Actually, bubonic plague is the least severe form of plague, wherein then there is septicemic plague. What is septicemic? If a muscle mass is affected, we call it as septic. So in septicemic plague, all the hands and limbs, it will become blackened, the tissue will be dead, and slowly it causes a painful death. So that is the second one. And third one is the most severe form of plague, that is pneumonic plague. Pneumonia. Pneumonic is anything related to lungs. If you happen to inhale the aerosolized virus, then it progresses rapidly, causing death in less than 35 hours. That is called as pneumonic plague. So pneumonic plague is the most extreme form of plague, and the next extreme one is septicemic, and the most common or less severe one is bubonic plague. Compared to other forms of plague, bubonic plague was comparatively lesser. Good. Can we treat plague right now? Yes, a simple antibiotic. Antibiotic is anything that acts against bacteria. A simple antibiotic can treat septicemic plagues or any type of plague right now. It's not a life-threatening disease anymore. Then we have a doctor here, the last class, I forgot her name. Vinisha, yeah. Yes. Okay, I was wondering if the doctor was actually absent. She's present. Next one is Chandipura virus. So it's called as Chandipura virus because the first occurrence of virus was spotted in a town in Maharashtra that's called as Chandipura. Good. It's called as Chandipura vesiculovirus. CHPV, Chandipura vesiculovirus. And importantly, what happens? It causes inflammation of the brain, leading to coma, and ultimately leading to death. So why this was in news? The last reported case of Chandipura virus was in 2014. After 5 years in 2019, there were fresh cases of Chandipura virus. Now, who causes this? It's a virus. Who is the vector of this virus? It's a sandfly. It's the Phlebotomin sandfly that carries the virus. Repeat. Phlebotomin sandflies. They carry the virus. They are the vectors or the carriers of the virus. And most important thing, it is given an Indian name. If they ask or if they say it is endemic only to India, no. Chandipura virus, it was detected in Senegal, Nigeria. Before few years, this has spread to other parts of the world also. Just because it's given Indian name doesn't mean it's present only in India. It's present in other African countries also. And it's endemic in India. It's not an epidemic or it's not a pandemic. It's in a controlled manner. Now coming to the cure, there is no cure, there is no treatment. The health ministry says best hygiene practices is the best prevention method. Only supportive care can be given. Starting with the next one. Chagas disease, also called as American trypanosomiasis. Right now, American trypanosomiasis, it has been divided into two types. That is a New World American trypanosomiasis and the Old World American trypanosomiasis. And before you go into it, hold on. There is one more important fact that we must, I guess. Yeah. So recently they have New World, Old World is not discussed here. Sorry. So it's called as American trypanosomiasis, and the most important thing is there is a classification. You can use it in the mains also. There is a classification called as neglected tropical disease. Diseases. There are many diseases, and Chagas disease, also called as American trypanosomiasis, it's a neglected tropical disease, NTD. So why it is neglected? There is a term for this. It's called as the silent and silenced disease. That's because it affects the people who have no political voice and affects the countries that has lesser economical importance. The best example is mostly it affects the African countries or it affects the South American countries, these diseases. So there is lesser research for medicine and other care. For this reason, the World Health Organization, it has classified certain diseases as neglected tropical disease, and Chagas disease is one of the neglected tropical disease. And recently in the World Health Assembly, they have declared 14th April as World Chagas Disease Day. To raise awareness about this, 14th April is declared as World Chagas Disease Day. Silent and silenced disease. These are good terms to be used in your mains answer writing. Good. And now, what causes it? It's called as Trypanosoma cruzi. So it's caused by a parasite called as Trypanosoma cruzi. And also remember this bug called as triotomin bug. So the feces and urine of this bug, it can also carry Chagas disease. Two carriers. One is the parasite, the other one is the bug. The feces and the urine of the bug. Next, talking about hantavirus. So hantavirus was there in the news because when we were in the middle of the pandemic, there was a WhatsApp message saying a new type of viruses emerged from China, and a few people have died of hantavirus that spreads from rats. And then government released an advisory note saying there is nothing to panic about hantavirus. There is no merit for giving more importance to it now because the medium of transmission, even if it is aerosol, it's not as contagious as COVID. So hantavirus, it's caused by rodents. That is generally rats. And hantavirus is divided into two. Sorry, that is New World and Old World. Why it's called as New World and Old World? That's because generally this hantavirus was spotted in Asia and Europe. Generally. And recently newer strains have spread to America also. For this reason, the American strains are named as New World hantavirus, wherein the older ones are named as Old World hantavirus. And it's hemorrhagic fever. Hemorrhagic disease. It causes hemorrhagic fever and ultimately death. What is hemorrhagic? Anything that causes blood flow. Blood is going to leak internally or externally. There's two types of hemorrhage, internal hemorrhage and external hemorrhage. If there's a cut in the skin and the blood oozes out, then you call it as external hemorrhage. And if there is any blunt injury or any other infection that causes internal hemorrhage inside the organs or inside the body, you call it as internal hemorrhage. So this is a hemorrhagic type of fever. So zoonotic disease, it's a hemorrhagic type of fever. And it spreads only through urine, feces, and saliva. It's not an airborne disease, it's a zoonotic disease, but spreads only through these medium. Trypanosoma cruzi is a parasite. It's not a virus, it's a parasite. Parasites are class of organisms. For example, Plasmodium that causes malaria. All these are different class of organisms. Shivapriya, is it clear? The next thing we had, Shivapriya, are you listening? Is it clear? Yes, okay, good. Next thing is Kawasaki disease. As the name suggests, more people in Japan are affected by Kawasaki disease. Japan. And this was in news because sometimes it occurs in India also. In 2019, a child was affected by Kawasaki disease, which causes inflammation of blood vessels. It causes inflammation of blood vessels. And it is treated using supportive care. There was a recent case in 2019 that was given supportive care and the child has recovered. That's all, a small news. Good. Japan, there are more cases. In India, very rare cases, but still in 2019, this was in news. Kawasaki disease, one child in Kerala was affected, but he recovered. Talking about Nipah, what comes in mind when we talk about Nipah? Which country? Generally, Africa, and in case of India, Kerala. Yeah, higher case of Nipah. So Nipah, it's caused because of fruit bats. The first case of Nipah was tracked back to date palm, where the bats have bitten the date palm and the humans have consumed it. And the most important recent finding is pigs can be intermediate carrier. Pigs can be intermediate carriers. You can easily remember the family of or genus of virus. It is called as Henipa virus. Nipah virus, Henipa virus. Nipah, Henipa virus. So viral disease, and right now the cure, none. There is no cure for this. There is no vaccine for this. Why I am repeatedly saying is Nipah is not to be confused with Ebola, because recently the Democratic Republic of Congo, it was widely affected by Ebola. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA of USA, approved 2 drugs and both of them worked properly. DCR has recovered from Ebola. So don't confuse it with Nipah. If there's a statement saying recently drugs were approved for Nipah, no. Nipah has no vaccines or drugs right now. The only supportive care is given, wherein Ebola has drugs now. Acute encephalitis syndrome. Also called as hypoglycemic encephalopathy. In this, this is important because close to 100 children in Bihar died in 2019 after consuming lychee fruit. And there were many WhatsApp messages saying don't give lychee to your children because it causes death of children. While that's misinformation, only malnourished children are affected by hypoglycemic encephalopathy. Yep. And toxin present in lychee. Toxin provided the child is not nourished well. It's called as methylene cyclopropyl glycine, MCPG. This is a type of toxin that's present in lychee fruits. We go to the next one. Now, how it caused MCPG, that is methylene cyclopropyl glycine, how it caused death of children. See, what happens to blood sugar level when we wake up in the morning? How is the fasting blood sugar level? Is it high or is it low or is it normal? Someone here? The blood sugar level when we wake up early in the morning. Low. Exactly, it's low. Generally, even the people with diabetes, they'll take two things. One is fasting blood sugar. That is, before eating, they have to take blood sugar, and then post-prandial, that is, after a meal, they have to take blood sugar level, wherein the fasting blood sugar level is generally low. Generally, when we wake up in the morning, the blood sugar level will be low. The body will attempt the first thing, that is, converting glycogen to glucose. Where is glycogen stored? It's stored in liver. The first attempt is to convert glycogen to glucose, which is stored in the liver. But in case of children, especially the poor children, this fails because, you understand, most of the children who died in the Bihar, the 100 children, all these children were children who belong to the farming community, especially the farm laborers, the children of farm laborers. So we know the plight of farm laborers. Generally, they are given lesser amount of money, and most of the times they go empty stomach for their bed. What happened was, these children, since some lychee fruit was available on the ground, maybe a little spoiled or even a good one, they consumed a lot of lychee. All these 100 children, they consumed a lot of lychee, but that previous day and night, they did not have dinner, which means there was no carbohydrate in their body left over. And this mechanism is not possible. That is, conversion of glycogen to glucose is not possible because liver is exhausted of carbohydrate source of protein. So attempt number 2, fatty acid. Fatty acids, it has to be converted into glucose. This is the second path taken by the body, with converting fatty acids to glucose. But then the MCPG, the toxin in lychee, it interrupts this mechanism. In presence of MCPG, instead of forming glucose, it forms amino acids, that is proteins. Instead, it forms a type of proteins, and this protein is accumulated in brain. The conversion of fatty acid into glucose is stopped midway, and all these amino acids, it gets accumulated in brain. So, and because of this, it causes fatigue, it causes coma, ultimately leading to death. This was the actual thing that happened. So had the children had their food the previous day, nothing would have happened. So since they did not have food, since they did not have carbohydrate in their body, and since all of them were malnourished, conversion of fatty acid into glucose was interrupted by the MCPG, methylcyclopropylol, present in the lychee, and it produced amino acids which were formed in the brain. Amino acids are building blocks of proteins. So basically, protein accumulation in brain. Protein accumulation in brain is not permitted because even Alzheimer's, dementia, everything is because of formation of amino acids or aminopeptides in the brain. Good. So this accumulation of amino acids in the brain ultimately it causes coma and death. Right now, the treatment for this, the best treatment is administering dextrose. Dextrose is sugar. So if you provide instant 10% dextrose, the children will recover. Dextrose, sorry, not dextrose. Dextrose, 10% dextrose, along with saline. This is the only treatment available right now. Yeah, so if you get a statement anywhere saying, don't think it's 2018 or 19 current affairs and UPSC will not ask it in question. There are many times they've asked 3-year-old current affairs in the questions. So you cannot take chances. Understand, lychee does not have toxin that affects everyone. It affects only malnourished children, provided fatty acid cannot be converted into glucose. Amino acids accumulate in brain and that causes the death. It is purely preventable if they are given dextrose and saline in a proper concentration at the optimum time. Good. Talking about diphtheria. So diphtheria was widely discussed because in Kerala there are cases of adult diphtheria. That is, diphtheria vaccine is included in the Universal Immunization Program in India, UIP. The Universal Immunization Program, it covers how many vaccines are covered in the Universal Immunization Program? 12 vaccines. And in this diphtheria, the pentavalent vaccine for diphtheria is covered. But even then, there is something called as waning vaccine immunity. That is reducing vaccine immunity. All these are public health problems. You can use it in your mains answer writing. Waning vaccine immunity among the adults, because the Universal Immunization Program, it was launched in 1978, in fact. Closer to 1985, it took full form. For diphtheria, it was started in 1978, which means all the population which took the vaccine in 1978, they are approaching old age now, and they have waning vaccine immunity. Because of that, in Kerala and few other cases, there were newer cases of diphtheria that were reported. Diphtheria causes upper respiratory tract infections. It's an infectious disease, and particularly it affects children. Right now, children are not affected, but adults are affected. So this was the case given about diphtheria in the last 2 years. And also there was one more mention about vaccine hesitancy. Because many parents, they in the pretext of going old school, they try to avoid vaccines, saying vaccines are corporate's way of controlling us and everything. So this vaccine hesitancy, it's not new in India alone. There is increasing case of vaccine hesitancy, especially in USA, where there is migrant population, which is a growing public health concern worldwide. Add these to your mains answer writing. Good. And also you can write about Global Alliance for Vaccine, GAVI, by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Yes. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they helped in developing the diphtheria vaccines and everything. That's one main reason for vaccine hesitancy. So this is how sometimes philanthropic works, maybe. It may be true or may not be true, but sometimes philanthropic works, that is taken in the other way and people hesitate to take the vaccines. So these are some of the problems associated with diphtheria in the last 2 years. Yeah. So similar to the 2000 rupee note chip, there were things that saying even the vaccines, using vaccines, they can inject chips inside you, they can control you and everything. All these made people to hesitate to take a vaccine. Yes, talking about Ebola. So Ebola, it is fatal with a fatality rate of more than 50%. It's a hemorrhagic fever again. And the virus family that causes it is called as Filoviridae. Inside Filoviridae, Ebola virus is one of the virus. You have a Cuba virus. Then we have Marburg virus. Then we have Ebola virus. All these are falling under a single family of infectious Filoviridae. Good. It's a viral disease. The fatality rate is around 50%. And recently, two important drugs, that is Inmazeb and Ibanga. Inmazeb and Ibanga. If you come across these terms, understand these are related to Ebola. So both these were found to be effective against these monoclonal antibody vaccines. The drugs, they were found to be effective against Ebola and Democratic Republic of Congo. This was recently affected by Ebola, and they have recovered from it in recent times. Coming to the next one, lysosomal storage disorder. What is the use of lysosome? Why immunity wanes? It is still under study. We don't know why the immunity wanes. Maybe we need one more booster dose or anything, because right now it's experimental. We started in 1978. Now we are understanding that immunity is waning, which means similar to polio, we may be having booster doses so that the immunity sustains for a longer time. Yes, lysosome is related to destruction of cells or digestion of cells, and there is a enzyme disorder called as lysosomal storage disorder. This is extremely rare disease, and a lot of children in India are affected by lysosomal storage disorder, which means they won't have enzymes that secrete or the digest the cell. Because of that, enzymes are either absent or deficient. Because of this, toxins builds up in cell. Now the cure for this only thing is enzyme therapy. They have to be administered with the enzyme throughout their entire life. That's the only cure available for this. So why this was in news is two states, there is High Courts of Kerala and High Court of Tamil Nadu. So there were two different cases filed by the parents of children affected by lysosomal storage disorder. And somewhere close to 6 crore were allotted by the central government as an interim relief before they plan out policies and everything for lysosomal storage disorder. The government will be taking care of the treatment. Right now, for interim relief, 6 crore and somewhere close to 4 crore to be allotted by the state governments. So more share taken by central and lesser share by state government. That's how it's going to work. And they're going to slowly develop a policy mechanism by which the children will be given assistance. Good. For this reason, this was in news. Right now, there is no cure for this. Pneumococcal polysaccharide conjugate vaccine, PCV. This was in 2019 UPSC prelims about pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, Pneumonosil. In fact, 2020, not 2019, 2020. The last prelims, there was a question about pneumococcal polysaccharide conjugate vaccine. What causes pneumococcal disease? Name itself says pneumococcal. It is related to bacteria. It is caused by Streptococcus pneumonia. And most importantly, this is not a part of universal immunization program. I repeat, pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. It's not a part of universal immunization program. In 2018, the World Health Organization, it has recommended including pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, that is PCV vaccine, in the universal immunization program. And the Serum Institute of India, who is manufacturing the Covishield right now, they are the third manufacturer of pneumococcal conjugate vaccine in the entire world. SIA, Serum Institute of India, located in Pune. They are the third supplier of pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. And it is performed under advance market commitment. please read about advanced market commitment. It is an agreement by World Health Organization. So what they're saying is, if a disease is neglected or a disease is given lesser importance because the developed countries are not affected by it, wherein the developing and the third world countries are affected by it. If that's the case, the World Health Organization, it mandates that these vaccines should be provided at a subsidized rate. So Serum Institute of India is right now manufacturing it under the arrangement called as advanced market commitment. Very good point for mains. All these neglected tropical diseases, if there is any development for drugs, it can be included under the advanced market commitment so that it will be at a subsidized cost. Because the pneumococcal pneumococcal it accounts to under 5 mortality rate, a large amount of under 5 mortality rate, especially in African countries and other underdeveloped countries. A prime contributor to under 5 mortality rate. Good. Next is pulse polio. This was a news because 31st January was the first pulse polio drive of the decade. It was widely discussed where the president gave the first polio drops to the children. The first polio drive in this decade, the present decade, 2021. And 90%, more than 90% of the children were covered. More than 90% of the children who needed polio drops, they were covered. And talking about polio enterovirus. Enterovirus is the virus that causes polio, and this is not to be confused with acute flaccid myelitis. Acute flaccid myelitis is generally a viral disease. The virus is not detected or properly studied. Good. Enterovirus causes polio. There are three types of polio: type 1 polio, 3 strains, prime strains, and type 2, type 3. Type 2 and type 3. Can someone say which of these are eliminated right now? 2 strains are eliminated right now. Online people, the chat box is empty for a long time. Can someone say which polio type is eliminated? Take a random guess. There are 17 people. If 3 people are going to say type 1, 3 people are going to say type 2. Somehow someone will get the right answer. Take random guesses. 3 or 2. Okay. So type 2 and 3, they are eliminated in the wild. They're completely eliminated. Their wild polio virus eliminated. Yes, 2 and 3 are completely eliminated or eradicated. And coming to type 1, only the Southeast Asia is free from polio. I repeat, only the Southeast Asia, which means we are not covering the South Asia, because in Asia right now type 1, Pakistan and Afghanistan. These 2 countries, they have high rate of polio. Because of that, the entire Asia is not polio free, wherein India was declared polio free in 2011 and Southeast Asia was declared polio free in 2014. When this was declared in 2014, India's efforts were widely appreciated because we had one of the largest population in Southeast Asia. Even then, our pulse polio drive was extremely good. All the background works and the infrastructure was extremely good. So that's one reason. Even now, the Covishield and Covaxin, it can be easily carried even to the remotest location, because we had this infrastructure for all the freezer boxes, primary healthcare workers and everything. So you can actually link the pulse polio program with the COVID immunization. When you write your mains, you can actually link the efforts taken by India for eliminating polio and how is it helpful right now in vaccinating people for COVID, even in the remotest location. And how our efforts of India made us to eliminate polio in 2011. Because the entire Southeast Asia was not declared in 2011. Many other countries had polio cases. We were one of the earlier countries to eliminate polio in 2011. So all the 3 types are eradicated in India, wherein type 1 exists in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Good. Next, we'll start with diseases in animals. We'll complete diseases in animals and then go for a break. Good. Endotheliotropic herpes virus. In fact, it's called as elephant endotheliotropic, called as EEHV. So why this was in news? The first one, it is a highly fatal hemorrhagic fever that affects elephants. And it's extremely fatal, which means once the elephants contact the EHP, it's difficult to track them because this is a silent killer. The elephant will stay calm, normal for a longer time, but within a day, it'll cause internal hemorrhage and it will die in maximum 2 days. For this reason, this was in news. And most importantly, in India, 4 elephants have died in a zoo. Four elephants in a zoo. This is not important. Wherein one wild elephant, it died recently after contacting this virus. And this happened in Chandaga forest that is located in Odisha. The wildlife department is extremely worried because if a wild animal happened to feed on EHV somewhere, which means there is a source of EHV present in Odisha somewhere, and if more elephants are going to contact it, it's going to be a greater threat for the elephant population. Right now, there is no cure for this. Only supportive care can be given. There is no cure for this. There is no vaccine for this. And yes, EHV for the first time it appeared in wild elephants so far in India. Good. Next is avian influenza. That comes in news almost annually because birds will be affected, chicken rates will go down. Good. It's caused by virus, avian influenza virus. It's also called as highly pathogenic avian influenza, HPAI. And there are many strains like H5N1, H5N8. There are many strains. Can someone say, does it affect humans? Avian influenza, even though the chicken rate goes down, most of them, they don't affect humans, wherein H5N1 is the only strain that affects humans. Humans fall sick if they happen to contract this particular strain. H5N1 is the only infectious thing in case of humans. Good. It affects chickens, ducks, quails, almost all the poultry seeds. The next thing is poliomyelitis is related to polio, but wherein if you come across this term, Merkel cell polyomavirus. So polyomavirus is nothing related to polio. It's a type of rare skin cancer. It's a rare skin cancer. And the causes for this is high amount of UV exposure, age, there is old age, and weak immunity. Right now, these are the only reasons given for this. The cure is even now unknown. Just like other forms of cancer, it can be controlled wherein it cannot be cured. So this was in news because the National Center for Biological Sciences in Bengaluru, they developed a toolkit for detection of polymavirus. National Center for Biological Sciences, NCBS in Bangalore. Wherein this kit is a minor one. Maybe you can add this to your Atmanirbhar initiatives or how self-reliance in India is giving us more hold in the field of medicine because we can save more money than importing the kits. or going for much advanced or costlier detection mechanisms. Good. But this one is important. Merkel cell polyomavirus. And then CAT-Q disease or CAT-Q virus. So it's caused by a genus called as Orthobunia virus. And most importantly, the name says it's CAT-Q virus, but it does not affect cats. Does not affect cats. Generally, mosquitoes are the carriers, mostly Culex mosquitoes. Culex mosquitoes, the three types of Culex mosquitoes present in India, they can be potential carriers of CAT-Q virus. It can be transmitted to humans, but right now it's not gaining merit because no cases have been reported. So out of 3,000 samples taken, somewhere close to 2 samples were tested positive for CAT-Q virus. It's not highly contagious disease. And most important thing is jungle myna. They have recently discovered, not recently in fact, jungle myna serum extracted in 1960s. It was studied again, and recently they have discovered even jungle mynas can be carriers of CAT-Q virus. So first is mosquitoes, and then jungle mynas from forest in Karnataka. It's a type of virus that causes fever. And two confusing ones. One is yada yada virus, the other one is yara virus. Very familiar one, very similar ones, yada yada and yara. So first let's talk about yada yada virus. There is nothing to panic about yada yada virus because it affects mosquitoes only. A virus that affects mosquitoes, revenge maybe. Does not affect humans, it affects only mosquitoes. It has been provisionally named as yada yada, it may be renamed later on. It's novel virus, there is no threat to humans. I repeat, there is no threat to humans. I'm talking about Yara virus. So this is extremely important because this was discovered in a lake in Brazil. And this Yara virus, it affects amoeba. And why this is considered to be important is 90% of genome is new or unknown, which means this single virus is challenging how we classify the virus so far, depending on their genomes. We may need a new set of classification or we may require a reclassification because new virus with a totally new set of almost a new set of genomes, 90% unknown genome is discovered recently. That's called as Yara virus, not to be confused with Yada Yada virus. Good. Next we have to discuss about the disease in plants. We'll take a break now. Good. Till then, if you have any doubts, online people, you can drop your messages here. Please go for a break and come back. Yeah, everyone back? Can we start? Okay. So, which part in India is known for cotton disaster? Can someone say the area known for disaster in BT cotton? Easier question. Area known for farmer suicide related to BT cotton. Maharashtra, Vidarbha region, good. So recently they have one more disease called as grey mildew. It's a fungus that affects cotton. We are talking about diseases in plants. So other than pink bollworm and armyworm diseases, recently grey mildew, it's a fungal disease. And 1/4 drop in productivity. The main reason is erratic weather pattern. You can add these two effects of weather change or climatic change. Erratic weather pattern is the prime cause. Good. Talking about the next one, TR4, that is banana wilt, also called as fusarium wilt. Fusarium wilt. With tropical race 4. That is TR4. This is a fungus that mainly affects banana. Fungal disease. It affects banana. This is not the first time that banana plantation is affected by this banana wilt or the fusarium wilt with tropical race 4. But this was in news because the ICAR, that is Indian Council for Agriculture Research, they developed bioremediation. It's called as ICAR fusicon, fusarium. So ICAR fusicon. This is a bioremediation. That was developed by ICAR. But the problem is because of the COVID pandemic, there was no enough financial support and there was no enough labor support. So even though we had a bioremediation, again the banana productivity, it was hit by the fusarium again this year. Most important thing, India accounts to 29.1% of global production of banana. And even after having a remedy, we were not able to implement it. So this says what hampers the policy or the actual implementation. The main gap that we have to bridge so that all the policies and the medications, everything is effectively trickled down even to the bottom level. Next thing, we're going to talk about SST, that is sandalwood spike disease. Okay, so it is it's caused by phytoplasma, and the main carrier is insects. Insects carry these phytoplasma and they affect the sandalwood. Now coming to the sandalwood, where is the wild population of sandalwood found in India? Online people, can someone answer? Wild population of sandalwood. Which means it's not cultivated by human, but it's found in natural habitat. It is wild population of sandalwood. Anyone? Western Ghats, good. About this, tell about the state. Yeah, Kerala, okay. And then Gunal says Kerala, okay. Sri Lakshmi says Nilambur, you're closer. But in the newspaper, it's mentioned as Karnataka and Marayur and Kerala. Marayur in Kerala and pockets of Karnataka. It has wild population. of sandalwood. Now the problem is when a sandalwood tree is affected by sandalwood spike disease, that is because of the phytoplasma, it is highly contagious. It spreads from one tree to other tree. The only available remedy right now is to cut down the infected tree and we have to remove it from the wild population. Right now, the only way is cutting down the infected or affected tree and removing it from the forest is the only way. And right now, there is drop in 1% up to 5% in the total productivity every year because of sandalwood spike disease. And recent times, it has been increasing. The spike disease is spiking, in fact, which is an area of concern because recently scientists have said if this continues for a longer time, in few more years, the entire wild population of the sandalwood, it may be wiped away. We are not talking about the plantation. The wild population of sandalwood tree, it may be wiped away because of the sandalwood spike disease. This is an area of concern. And one important thing, the counter effect of conservation measures, because recently there is a stricter or stringent rules for cutting down sandalwood trees. And because of that, density of sandalwood tree has increased. Density of trees in forest, sandalwood tree in forest, it has increased. So what will happen when the trees are available in closer space? The disease will spread faster, which means because of the conservation efforts, even though we have saved a lot of trees, it's having a counter effect that we may lose the trees because of the same reason, which means we have to soon find a remediation for this one. Good. Talking about the scab disease. When you see the word scab, remember apple. Apple should come in your mind. Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir people, the plantations, it's affected by scab disease in recent time. So scab is caused by Venturaria inequalis. It's a fungus. It's a fungal disease. Caused by Venturaria inequalis. Good. It causes defoliation. It does not affect the entire tree. Only the leaves and fruits are affected. This is the best example how overexploitation of land will cause diseases, because right now the only remedy for this disease to control the Venturaria inequalis disease, first thing, spacing between plants. Second thing, proper sunshine. While the second abiotic factor is not under our control, the first factor is under our control. Because of jealousy, because of overgreed, people place the apple trees much closer to each other, which means if one tree is affected by scab disease, almost the entire plantation is affected by scab, causing wilting and other problems. Good. And we have to talk about recent developments. We are going to talk about 90-90-90. Exactly. 90-90-90 is related to AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is caused by retrovirus. AIDS is caused by a virus called as retrovirus. Human immunovirus belongs to a family called as retrovirus. So what is this 90-90-90? First thing, 90% of the people affected by HIV, they should know their present status. That is, how is the viral load in their body? They should know. They should know the present status. 90% should know present status, and 90% should have access to antiretroviral therapy. Antiretrovirus, so antiretroviral. And 90% of the people affected by HIV, they should have viral load suppressed. Yes. So this acquired immunovirus or the retrovirus, it affects lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are destroyed. Is it possible to cure AIDS? It's not possible to cure AIDS because you could see 90% of people should have viral load suppressed, not eliminated. You can only suppress the viral load so that again lymphocytes are produced, but on longer run the virus will not be destroyed. It will still stay in the system, but in an undetectable way. We call it, we are aiming for something called as U equals to U, that is undetectable equals to untransmittable, which means if a person takes antiretroviral therapy for a longer run or for a longer time, the viral load will be suppressed. So if it is almost undetected in the blood, it means it won't be transmitted to the other people. Even if they're going to have unprotected sex or anything, it won't be transmitted from one person to other person, which means a longer antiretroviral therapy will make the virus undetectable. So undetectable means transmittable. We are aiming to achieve this, but the main problem is in achieving the second 90%. That is 90% people should have access to antiretroviral therapy. We were aiming to complete it by 2020, but because of the pandemic, we were not able to deliver the LGBTQ communities and also the sex workers. For all these people who are poverty ridden, who cannot afford for antiretroviral therapy treatment from private, the government was not able to provide ART therapy. You can write how the pandemic, it has affected people living with HIV and other people who are affected by other diseases. Person living with HIV or people living with HIV, PLHIV, these people are affected. So some other effects of COVID pandemic. Good. Smart safety surveillance. So when we come across this term smart safety surveillance, the first thing that hits our mind is anything related to traffic control. But this is related to tracking people after vaccination. Once you vaccinate the people, for example, if the complete clinical trial is not completed, the clinical trial data is not ready with us, even if you're going to approve a vaccine, the best example is Covishield and Covaxin. So after giving the jab to the people, we have to track them of their health status. That is carried out using smart safety surveillance. And India did not start 3 years with COVID. In fact, it started with Rotavac, which is a vaccine for rotavirus. We started in mid of 2019. Since the clinical trial data is not available with us, India is already tracking people. So if you get a statement saying India started smart safety surveillance for the first time after the Covishield or Covaxin, no. We had this system earlier. Next, Trojan horse route to fight Alzheimer's. So first, what is Alzheimer's? Can someone say, online people, Alzheimer's or dementia? There are many different types of dementia. One thing is Alzheimer's. What is Alzheimer's? Memory loss. Okay, good. Memory loss. And any other thing? So reduced cognitive ability. You can shortly say people who cannot carry over day-to-day activities. They forget everything, and if they need assistance all the time, then we can say they are affected by dementia. So there are many dementia that includes Alzheimer's. Why this was in news? Basically problem with thinking, orientation, day-to-day problem solving. Everything is affected for people who has dementia. And right now the causes are unknown. The only remedy that doctors give is we have to have regular physical exercise, have a healthy diet, no smoking, no alcohol. These are the general advices given. Recently, people from IIT Guwahati, they have discovered two mechanisms. First is injecting Trojan peptides. So before going into the concept, I'll tell you amylopeptides. When amylopeptides accumulate in brain, it leads to Alzheimer's. So this is one reason. Good. Don't confuse it with amino acids. Amino acid was there in acute encephalitis, hypoglycemic encephalopathy. We were discussing the lychee toxin. That is different. Here, accumulation of amylopeptides, or in fact amylo beta peptides. You can write it more precisely. Amylo beta peptides accumulation in the brain, it can lead to dementia, it can lead to Alzheimer's. Right now, the people from IIT Guwahati, they have discovered two methods to solve this. First one, injecting Trojan peptides. What is Trojan? Anything that poses like a normal thing which is deceiving, but actually it has a different purpose from the legend. So Trojan peptides. First thing, they'll be injecting a peptide that acts like a normal peptide, but it actually tries to remove the amylo beta peptide from the brain. That is one mechanism. And second thing is applying low voltage electricity. Low voltage electric field to remove the plaques. These two are the methods developed by IIT Guwahati people. And in mains, in prelims aspect, this is sufficient. In mains aspect, first thing, indigenous technology. So this cannot, remember, this cannot cure Alzheimer's. First thing, it can try to evade or it can delay the onset. Delay onset at least by 10 years. Based on the present experiments, they're saying it can delay the onset of dementia by at least 10 years. This is considered to be a significant technological advancement. It's published in PIB also. Pay attention to it. Now coming to the mains aspect, dementia is a growing problem. So around $2 trillion. $2 trillion American dollar per year goes for taking care of people affected by dementia, because all these people affected by dementia, they need 24/7 assistance. Someone has to be present nearby. You have watched in movies, people forget, they'll walk away out of the home or something. So either there should be a caretaker or there should be some people who has to give up their job and then take care of the people affected by dementia. For this reason, it accounts to close to $2 trillion expense per year for taking care of people affected by dementia. And most importantly, dementia is increasing in India because of stress and other causes. Good. By using this technique, we can delay the onset of dementia. Next one. About Make in India initiative. Basically, we developed two kits. First is Japanese encephalitis kit. It's a highly infectious zoonotic disease. Japanese encephalitis. ELISA kit for swine. What is swine? Pigs. So this kit can detect Japanese encephalitis in pigs so that the transmission to humans will be blocked or minimized. And then blue tongue. Blue tongue is a virus. These two are the kits that were developed as a part of Make in India initiative by the scientists from India. This was widely uploaded, even had a special mention in PIB, because first thing, Japanese encephalitis is a highly infectious zoonotic disease, mainly affecting children. If you have a good kit for detecting Japanese encephalitis in swine population, then all these cattle population, they can be effectively monitored and their transmission to humans can be controlled. First thing. Second, blue tongue is disease caused by blue tongue virus, BT virus. Blue tongue virus, not to be confused with Bacillus thuringiensis. That's B small letter t. This is B capital letter T. BT virus. It affects almost the entire cattle population. Most importantly, camelids. Camel population, goats, buffaloes, all the cattle are affected. This is also a highly infectious disease. So recently, they have developed a kit for detecting these diseases, and this was again uploaded because an imported kit costs around 50,000 rupee, wherein the kit developed by Indians, it's just 5,000 rupee. 10% of the import cost. You can add these to your mains answer writing points, how indigenous technologies can save a lot of money. And also we can make it more accessible to the farmers and other cattle rearers. And then BPAL regimen, it's related to TB. Don't write it now because there's a small confusion. I came across two different articles in recent times. I'll just update these notes later. So BPAL regimen is related to multi-drug resistant TB. There is one thing called as extreme drug resistant TB. So I have contradictory statements in two different newspapers. I'll just verify the facts and then I'll update you the notes. Good. I'll give you a short introduction. So if a person affected by TB responds to the first line drug, it's called as a normal TB. If a person does not respond to at least two of the first line drugs, you call it as multi-drug resistant TB. And if a person affected by TB does not respond to all the first line drugs and around 9 different second line drugs, 9 plus 3 totally accounts to 12 drugs. If a person does not respond to any of the 12 drugs, it's called as extreme drug resistant TB. But recently they have discovered bedoquine and BPAL regime, which is for MDR as far as I know. But recently I came across a news article saying it can treat extreme drug resistance also. So I'll just verify the facts and then I'll update you the notes. Don't take it right now. Chitra flow diverter, important. Any people from Trivandrum here? Online people, is there anyone attending the class from Trivandrum? Thiruvananthapuram, Makkal, anyone? No one? There are people from Bangalore. I think no one from Trivandrum. Adaya, Rananagar, okay. Once again, the importance of indigenous technology. Good. So have you heard of the word called as stent? Whenever the heart is blocked, when there's a block in the arteries, if the person is healthy enough and if open heart surgery is not needed, they'll install stents. So stents are generally taken to the arteries or veins, and it's like a tubular structure, generally metal mesh, so that will just widen the arteries so that the blood flow is not obstructed. And then what if the blood clot happens in brain? It's called as aneurysm. To cure this aneurysm and to prevent the blood vessel from bulging or ballooning and bursting, we have to install stents. Crania means skull. So this is a intercranial stent. Developed by India. In fact, developed in Kerala. It's named as Chitra flow diverter because it's developed by a hospital called as Sri Chitra Tirunal Hospital. For that reason, it has been renamed as Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Science and Technology. They've developed stent. Basically, this could cure the aneurysm in brain. And this is extremely important because the intracranial stent, sometimes it goes up to 6 to 7 lakh if you're going to import it. Wherein this indigenously developed stent, it's even more rigid. It can even be subjected to 90-degree twist without being affected, which means indigenous technologies are slowly developing in a better way. We can get a lot of point. We can get a lot of money import cost. The next one is TrueNAT MTB. So this is important. TrueNAT MTB. It's a molecular diagnosis kit for TB. Why this was in news? So understand, all these days we have been using a kit called as XPET. XPET was the kit that was developed by other nations, so this was widely used, and TrueNAT is developed by India. TrueNAT is developed by India, and recently the World Health Organization, it said that TrueNAT has more accuracy and specificity. For this reason, it has advised all the countries to replace XPET with TrueNAT. One example on how indigenous technology is making a global presence. It has better sensitivity and specificity. How sensitive it is to the presence and how specific it is, or how accurate it is. Better sensitivity and specificity. For this reason, TrueNAT is being, it was in fact an interim order from WHO. They had a quick press release applauding the efforts of India and asking to replace TrueNAT, XPET with TrueNAT. Trans fat. Okay. Before we talk about trans fat, I'll give you one basic introduction. Fatty acids. We were discussing about fatty acids while discussing the lychee toxin. Good. So fatty acids, they can be divided into two types, that is, saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. Online people, can someone say which is good? Which is good for health? Is it saturated fatty acid or is it unsaturated fatty acid? Yeah. Online people, any answer? Which is good for health? Is it saturated or is it unsaturated? The most common answer is saturated. Okay, how many atoms, I mean, how many atoms can a carbon bind with? The valency of carbon? No, carbon has atomic number 6, wherein the valency is 4, because 2 and 4, yeah. So the valency of carbon is 4, which means a single carbon atom, it can effectively form 4 bonds, 4 single bonds, good. So if the carbon bond is complete, then you call it as saturated fatty acid. Wherein if there are presence of double bonds, you call it as unsaturated fatty acids. For example, if there is if carbon is like this is saturated. If carbon is like this is unsaturated. Good. The most preferred one is unsaturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids are not good for health. Right now, we are trying to cut down the saturated fatty acids. Good. Saturation, unsaturated, it looks like a negative term, wherein unsaturated fatty acids are good for health, wherein saturated fatty acids are not good. These unsaturated fatty acids, since they have double bond, they will easily react and cause rancidity. They will be easily spoiled. Well, in industries for all the baking food and everything, saturated fatty acid is preferred because it has greater shelf life. Whereas unsaturated, it has lesser shelf life, but it is good for health. And we have many things. We have MUFA and PUFA, monounsaturated fatty acids, and then polyunsaturated fatty acids, which means if there is one carbon with double bond, called as monounsaturated, that is unsaturation to 1. PUFA is polyunsaturated, many unsaturated carbons, wherein the most preferred one is PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Safflower oil is example. Or groundnuts. Let's not dwell a little deep into it. I'll keep it as simple as possible so that you don't get confused. Because see, polyunsaturated fatty acid is much preferred. You could see in advertisements also. Whenever there is oil advertisement, they'll be saying it is rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids. Good. Polyunsaturated fatty acid is good for health, and we cannot say a blanket statement that all unsaturated fatty acids are good, because there is one more subclassification called as trans fat. So trans fat is a rare type of fat that's generally formed when oil is suddenly cooled or hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated. It is called as trans fat. Trans fats are extremely bad. So if you get a statement saying all the unsaturated fatty acids are good, no. There are still bad fats in unsaturated also. That is trans fat, caused by solidification of oil. Good. So right now, FSSAI, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, it has set targets for trans fat. We are looking for reduction and then slowly elimination. Yes, government recently fixed 3% for trans fatty acids in industries. Good, you are following current affairs. Yes. Yeah, there are two different, in fact, there are two different regulations that we'll easily confuse. First thing, FSSAI, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, it has set two targets. One is for food products, that is food products, or which means all the fast moving consumer goods like cakes, chips and everything. We call it food products, which is ready made and ready to consume, those food products. And then about oil, that's used for cooking generally. Good. We have set target for both these things. First thing, with respect to this one, by 2021, that is by Jan 1st, 2021, observe carefully, the trans fatty acid shall not be greater than hold on, shall not be greater than 2% of total fats by mass. This is sometimes wrongly taken that if the food product is 100 gram, you cannot keep 2 gram as trans fatty acid. Good. If food product is 100 gram and if 10 gram is fat, and out of this 10 gram, only 2% can be trans fatty acid. That is the regulation they have given by 2021. trans fatty acids should be less than or equal to 2% of total fats by mass, not a total food product mass itself. Out of the total fats present, it should be less than 2%. This is the trans fatty acid regulation for food products. And right now, the permitted trans fatty acid amount in oil is 5%. It's going to be reduced by to 3% by 2021. It should be reduced to 3%, and by 2022, it should be reduced to 2%. Good. This is the total mass because oil is completely fat. So out of oil, the fat is given. And slowly it has set target to eliminate trans fat. That is called as REPLACE. REPLACE is a program by WHO. Please go through it. That is review dietary sources, promote replacement. You can read it later. I'll send it through the notes. Review dietary sources, promote replacements, legislate and enact rules. It's a abbreviation actually. Good. BLA NDM 1, important. BLA NDM 1. It's a enzyme. I repeat, it's an enzyme. New Delhi metallo beta lactamase. This is abbreviated as BLA NDM. I repeat, this is an enzyme. So why is this enzyme important? Because it causes antibiotic resistance in bacteria. It has been named as New Delhi metallo beta lactamase because for the first time this was discovered in New Delhi metro water supply. Good. Repeatedly this was in news because in 2019 they said BLA and DM1 it has spread to Europe. Somehow from New Delhi it has spread to Europe, and in 2020 this was discovered in Svalbard, close to Arctic. What is famous about Svalbard? Svalbard Treaty, and other than that, we have a seed vault. There is any apocalypse, if everything is washed away, how are we going to do agriculture again? For that reason, we have a Svalbard seed vault, an interesting program where we have buried all the seeds deep into the ground, safely preserved in sub-zero temperatures, so that we can use it for further cultivation in case we need it. Yeah. Right now, the BLA NDM1, it has spread even to Svalbard. How it has spread? First thing is through birds, animals, and then through human. These are the 3 reasons given. Research is still going on. Either the migration of birds or animals, or even the humans, because even in Arctic and other places, we have exploration activities going on. We have human transport regularly from here to there, which means we'll excrete urine and all the biological waste. It will be transported to different parts of the world. So the enzyme that was discovered in 2018, it has in 2 years, it has reached Arctic. Good. This is the news about the BLA NDM1. Next, we are starting with COVID-19. What is causing COVID-19? It's a virus, okay. What is the genetic material present in this virus? Is it a DNA or is it a RNA? Can someone answer? Is it a DNA or is it a RNA? Yeah. Is it a DNA or is it a RNA? Or does it have both? RNA, good. Don't write much of the notes. It's caused by RNA, and the family is called as Ridovirales. The novel coronavirus, it belongs to the family called as Ridovirales. Sorry, Nidovirales. I confused it with Nidovirales. Nidovirales is the family that causes COVID-19. Good. And there are 4 different types of virus. That is alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Details about it is not given. Right now they have said there are 4 different strains of coronavirus: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta, based on the genomic data. Good. And few things. First one, is there a protein coat around the virus? Around this virus, is there a protein coat? Definitely yes, it has a envelope protein. So first thing, it is a capped virus, which means the genetic material is protected by a protein coat. We call it as capped virus. And most importantly, it's called as non-segmented virus. What is non-segmented virus? There are 3 classifications. That is, we have segmented, and then we have non-segmented, and then we have multipartite virus. Non-segmented, segmented, and multipartite. What is the difference between these 3? Imagine, this may sound peculiar to you. Imagine a virus is there and there is RNA inside. This is called as non-segmented. Imagine a virus is there and RNA is split and segmented into different portions in a single virion. You call it as a segmented virus. And imagine the single RNA, it is present in bits and pieces in different virus. Only when these 3 viruses enter together into an organism or a host, then only infection is possible. We call it as a co-infection. It requires co-infection. This is like fixing a jigsaw puzzle. You need all the 3 pieces to complete the RNA sequence. If any virus is missing, if any one is missing, then the infection is not possible. It becomes incomplete. In this, it is a non-segmented virus, which means it has a single RNA strand inside the virus. And it takes on importantly through it's an airborne disease. First, let's talk about few myths related to COVID. People online, please answer. First one, hydroxychloroquine. Did it have any impact on COVID-19? The famous threat by Donald Trump. Hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, which is a malarial drug. Did it have any impact on COVID-19? Initial studies, but then later they said it has, it is not possible. The first thing is hydroxychloroquine, it has no impact on, or almost zero impact on people affected by COVID-19. How about dexamethasone? Dexamethasone. This was one more drug that was tried out, and this had some good effect on people with serious illness, not with moderate symptoms, but people with serious illness or complications, especially the patients who were on ventilators. They showed improvement with the dexamethasone, but they were not cured, but they showed improvement, which means there's mild physiological effect. Yes. And now, third important question. Does water or swimming transmit COVID? Imagine you're in a swimming pool. Will it transmit COVID? Yeah. Swimming pool. Will it transmit COVID? Think and answer. Online people, try to answer. Swimming pool. Will it spread COVID? Yes, probably will think yes, but the answer is no. Yeah, no, the answer is no. It's airborne disease. Right now, the waterborne transmission of COVID-19 is not yet established or approved, which means even if you are going to a swimming pool separated by 1 meter distance, the person is not going to talk to you, the affected person. Or if you are not going to sneeze on you, then there is no problem. There's no evidence of the virus transmitting through water, given in the WHO website. And then wearing a medical mask for a prolonged time will cause hypoxia, that is reduced oxygen supply. True or false? Wearing medical mask for a longer time, it can reduce oxygen supply. True or false? False. Yeah, it is false. Absolutely false. Yeah, even mask is not effect against virus, and how is it going to affect the oxygen supply? So yes, it does not cause hypoxia. There is no reduced oxygen supply. Good. And also adding pepper and garlic to the food, will it have any impact on COVID-19? Adding a lot of pepper and garlic to the soup or other meals, will it have effect on COVID-19? As per WHO, we'll tell in advance. As per mother, definitely yes. We're talking about the World Health Organization. Immunity booster. Yes. Okay, the answer is right now WHO says there is no proven evidence of garlic or pepper or any other spices increasing immunity against COVID. Maybe it will add spice to your food, but it's not going to add immunity against COVID-19. There is no established evidences. Even though there may be an overall good effect on immunity, it is not linked with COVID so far, according to WHO. Good. High temperature will kill the virus. High temperature or sun will kill the virus. True or false? Not according to Donald Trump. According to, yeah, according to science, no, it's false. Ultraviolet lamps, it can sterilize COVID-19 virus. True or false? Ultraviolet lamps, exposure to ultraviolet lamps, it can kill COVID virus. The answer is false. Understand? Mostly even ultraviolet A, B, C, all types of ultraviolet, it has effect only on bacteria mostly and on fungi. Good. Even if you go to saloons, these days they are charging extra for putting it inside the sterilizing chamber. This is just a normal psychological trick for milking more money, wherein there is no proven evidence of ultraviolet rays killing even a single COVID-19 virus. Keep in mind. Yes. Coming to the next one. Vaccine developed for pneumonia has impact on COVID-19. True or false? It was initially tried out. All these were tried out, but so far only dexamethasone has impact on COVID-19. The vaccine developed for pneumonia has no impact on COVID-19. Good. Also rinsing the pneumonia one, they were trying to treat it with the pneumococcal thing, but it did not work out. So it had a moderate impact, and then once the virus started spreading, they stopped trying out. So as per WHO, there is no impact. Rinsing the nose with saline can stop COVID-19. True or false? Rinsing the nose with saline, it can kill the COVID virus. No, false, because salt has no impact on COVID-19. You know, even if COVID or any type of virus stays in the soil for a longer amount of time, say for 3 or 4 decades, it will stay dormant, and again when it gets food nutrient and all sugar supply, it is going to be active again, so it has no impact. Antibiotics has no impact on virus. Keep in mind, antibiotics, it works against viruses, sometimes against fungi, but not against virus. But yes, co-infection is possible. Keep in mind, sometimes antibiotics is given to the people who have recovered from COVID-19 because their immunity will be low, and because of that, co-infection by bacteria is possible. So the reason for giving antibiotics to the people affected by COVID-19 is to prevent co-infection from bacteria. Antibiotics for bacteria, not for virus. Yeah. And then, did you come across this term called as R0? This or NOUGHTY or naughty, sometimes written as RNAUGSTY or naughty. So it determines how contagious a disease is. Good. If R naughty value is 2, it means one person affected by the disease will spread it to 2 people. If the R naught value is 2, when the R naughty value of COVID-19 as per May 2020 data is 1.22. I have not seen any update about this. This is May 2020 data. I repeat, May 2020 data, a little bit older data, almost a year-old data. As per the year-old data, the R naughty value of COVID-19 is 1.22. Good. Coming to types of vaccines. Right now, we have different vaccines, and the one being used in India for emergency use authorization, it is Covishield and Covaxin. Let's talk about Covishield and Covaxin. Before that, we have to understand what type of vaccine it is. Yeah. Inactivated, exactly. I'll give you one liner for this. First one, these are the approaches through which we can develop vaccines. First one, whole virus vaccine, the subunit approach and genetic approach. Good. Starting with the inactivated vaccine. So inactivated vaccine, it uses killed version of a germ. You can write one-liner if you want. Inactivated vaccine uses killed version of a germ to trigger immune response. Inactivated vaccine uses killed version of a germ to trigger immune response. The best example is polio shot. I'm not taking the COVID vaccines here. I'm saying other examples, polio or hepatitis vaccine. Polio or hepatitis vaccine, especially hepatitis A vaccine, in fact. Vaccine. Hepatitis A, it is inactivated vaccine. Now coming to live attenuated, it says live. Good. It uses weakened version of the germ that has lost all its potence. It uses the weakened version or weakened live version of a virus or germ. This is called as live attenuated vaccine. The most common example is MMR, mumps, measles, rubella vaccine. MMR vaccine is an example, or even smallpox, chickenpox. Smallpox vaccine or chickenpox vaccine. These are examples of live attenuated vaccines. Coming to viral vector vaccines, the name itself says it's vector, which means, yes, unharmful virus is going to be used as carrier for immune response. Basically, it will send the information to the immune system on how to trigger the immune response. So, unharmful virus used to carry proteins that trigger immune response. Safer viruses used for carrying protein that trigger immune response is example, and Ebola is an example. The Ebola vaccine, the Ibanga and Inmasa we were talking about, they are viral vector vaccines. So this is the whole unit approach. The first one is inactivated. The second one, the first one is inactivated. The second one is live attenuated, that is, it's alive but in a weakened form. And the third one is viral vector vaccine, because it's carrying the protein, but the virus is totally different. A safer virus carrying only the protein. This is called as viral vector vaccine. So this is the whole microbe approach. Next, we are going to talk only about the subunit approach. That is, only the protein is going to be carried. That's called as the subunit approach. Only specific part of infecting organism is delivered. Only specific parts of a virus or bacteria or any other infecting organism is delivered to the body through subunit approach. Coming to the genetic approach, only the genetic material is delivered. Maybe RNA, or it may be a DNA, it may be a single or double helical RNA. Any genetic material that is used to trigger immune response is called as genetic approach. For subunit approach, you can write tetanus vaccine as an example. Tetanus vaccine, it's relatively weaker, so we use only the subunit approach. Okay, talking about genetic approach, we do not have much vaccines. Right now, there is ongoing research for Zika and HIV. Ongoing research, I repeat, ongoing research for Zika and HIV. Wherein many DNA licensed vaccines are available for animal use, not for human use. Since it involves the genetic modifications and everything. Right now, humans do not have genetic approach vaccines, wherein it's permitted in animals. Good. Starting with the two vaccines approved in India. First is Covishield, the other one is Covaxin. First, we'll start with Covishield. Covishield is the Oxford Zeneca vaccine's Indian version. AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca and COVID, AstraZeneca, sorry. Yeah. AstraZeneca and Oxford, they developed a vaccine, and it is produced in India by Serum Institute of India. Don't confuse it with Bharat Biotech. Covaxin is developed by Bharat Biotech, wherein Covishield is developed by Serum Institute of India. Covishield developed by Serum Institute of India, and it is a viral vector vaccine. I repeat, it's a viral vector vaccine. What is the virus used? Yeah, adenovirus taken from chimpanzee. Adenovirus causes a common flu and cold in chimpanzees. So we have taken adenovirus from chimpanzees, and it is used to deliver a protein that will trigger immune response against COVID-19. How many doses are needed? Two doses are needed, and the gap between these two doses should be 8 up to 12 weeks. Based on the present data, we are not talking about efficacy right now, because initially they said it is 79% efficient. Right now they've reduced it to 76% based on the new clinical trial data. All these data I'll update you by the month of March. Till then, don't confuse, don't take up more data, so that it may be remembered. It may be difficult to alter it again in your memory. So don't take it right now. Take only these ideas. And then talking about Covaxin. Covaxin. Why this was under criticism? Yeah, even before the phase 3 trial was over, it was approved because it's mainly backed by the government of India, and the developer is Bharat Biotech. You can mildly use this point in mains answer writing in a sugar-coated way on the criticisms that is put forth. But don't be too critical, because it's a government-backed initiative. The Bharat Biotech developed it, and it is an inactivated vaccine, which means killed version of COVID-19. Again, the dosage is again 2 doses. The timeline between the time gap between 2 doses should be the same, 8 weeks up to 12 weeks. Right now, the center is asking people to increase the duration between the 2 doses. And all these vaccines, it has to be stored between 2 degrees Celsius up to 8 degrees Celsius, which is almost same for the polio vaccine. We have enough amount of infrastructure to carry out these. Yeah, Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are genetic approach vaccines. Yes. And the recent update right before coming to the classes, there was a news update. So Pfizer claims it is more effective on teens, because right now all these are effective against old age, especially used for saving old age people. And right now the portal is upgraded to record at least 1 crore people per day, so that close to all the people who are greater than 45 years get vaccinated. That's the aim right now. Wherein the pathologic youth population, we may be getting the vaccine much later, because the old age people, they have more priority. Yeah, people in health line, yes, in people who are in the healthcare workers, they would have easily got it. Or even if you pay something extra to the private hospital, to be honest, yes, they give. But it's safer to not take it, because first thing, we may induce scarcity. Because right now, even the Serum Institute of India and other people, they are producing more amount of vaccines. Most of them, or a major part of it, goes to the export, while only a limited amount is available for domestic usage. And the priority people are people from 45 to 60. Right now, I was saying the thymus and everything degenerates, and because of that, they have reduced immune response. So it's safer that youth like us, we wait for some more months. And most probably in 2 or 3 months, we'll be having dosages. That's what we predict. Good. All right, I think this is sufficient for the day. There are many other competitors. Yeah, we have Sputnik from Russia, then Zyco. There is one more international vaccine being developed by Bharat Biotech again. They're saying even though washing with saline is not effective, they're developing international vaccine where people can apply it on the nasal cavity, so that even if they contact virus, it will be killed. There are many other vaccines in development right now in trial. A lot will happen in 2 months. So don't take much data into it. I'll update it later. Good. Is there any other doubt for the day? They're in phase 2 and 3, and they had some problems in the middle. Some people were affected by spinal cord problems. There were few problems that caused, they had a short pause in the trials because of multiple problems. And even now, one vaccine in USA, I think people who are greater than 55 years of age, they had blood clot in the arteries. Yeah, they had. There were some cases, and recently USA also they have restricted one more vaccine because of blood clots. A lot can happen in 2 years. NCERT book list, don't skip 10th, 11th, and 12th biology books. 10th, 11th, and 12th science book mandatory. Other than that, I'm preparing set of chapters which needs to be studied without skipping. Please wait for another 2 or maximum 2 weeks. Good. Right now, I'm preparing the notes. When I send the notes, I'll be giving you the book list. Shivapriya, right now, please carry on with 10th, 11th, and 12th. Even though it is advised to start with class 8, since you are closer to prelims, I'm saying don't skip class 10, 11, and 12. 11, 12 biology, don't skip it. For physics and chemistry, you can go through application oriented. Don't go for organic or inorganic chemistry. When you take organic or inorganic chemistry, check for the uses, day-to-day applications, where it is used, the important processes you can go through. You don't have to read the equations and everything. Good. Biology, don't skip 11th and 12th. Yeah. Only 10th, 11th, and 12th biology, you have to completely read it once. And especially related to plants, you can reduce because most of the questions are related to diseases in animals, humans, generally. Plants diseases, it's discussed much lesser. So don't go into the Mendelian theory, genetics, cloning, all these things you don't have to read. Do selective reading. Read more about diseases, vitamins, on the topics that we discussed. Shivapriya, start with 10th, 11th, and 12th biology books. Read more about organisms, lesser about plants. I'm not saying you to reduce the reading. I'm saying in the given time, try to cover at least these parts. And physics and chemistry, try to cover all the application-oriented NCERT part. Good. There are a lot of materials available online as gist of NCERT. At least you can go through this. If at all that's a last resort, I would advise, even in the last resort, don't skip NCERT reading. At least go through the gist. Good. So the stipulated amount of time, I try to cover as much of topics as possible, where an average of around 40 topics per class. That's what I aimed at, somewhere 35 to 40 topics. We have covered most of the important topics in space science, astro, nuclear, and biotech. As far as I know, I can confidently say 2019, 20, and 21, I would have covered at least 80% of most important, significant current affairs and static portions in science. If at all anything is missing, I'll be updating through the Telegram channel. Please keep following your Telegram channels because mostly we won't be meeting in the classes again, wherein the only way to keep in touch with you is the Telegram channel. So just like how I sent, by the meantime, since you people are asking about biology, check if this link is working, someone online. Created before few weeks. I think it should be functional. Can someone check if this is working? I'm providing interim relief by providing the biotechnology materials. Can someone confirm if this link is working? It's a Google Drive link linked to my account. If this works, you should be having 2 documents. One is about COVID, the other one is about biotechnology diseases, all the topics that we discussed today. Can someone confirm if this is working? Working. Archana, good. Yeah, 2 documents. Yeah, one is COVID, about COVID basics, the other one is about important biotechnology diseases. Do we have separate biology book for 10th? No, Sri Lakshmi, you have a single science book for 10th that covers all physics, chemistry, botany, and zoology, environment sciences all together. Yeah, science is the textbook. I think you'll have around 3 or 4 chapters for biology. Go through this. Okay, so you can use, you people can use this material for the time being before I send the complete notes. There may be minor cosmetic defects like missing index or anything, so please bear with it. I'll just do the complete work and send in 2 weeks. Good. And then you will have one more updated version after 2 months. You can go through that also. Clear? Okay, good meeting you all. I'll contact you through Telegram channel. Alternatively, if you have any other academic queries, you can drop a mail here. Many people have sent your answers. Since I'm rushing with the classes right now, I was not able to correct because since your courses are a little bit delayed, we have been pushing with the classes, but I'll definitely send you the answers. I will review and send the answers. Good. All right. Thank you very much. Is there any other doubts? Are there any other doubts? Arjun will be continuing with the rest of the topics. Good meeting you all people. Yes, good night. Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We'll wind up. Meeting முடிச்சிருங்களேன். முடிச்சிடலாம். என் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? என் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? ஓகே.